In the Book of Revelation, angels play a significant role in conveying messages, executing judgments, and participating in heavenly worship. Here are some key aspects of angels mentioned in the Book of Revelation. Messengers. Angels serve as messengers who deliver divine revelations to the Apostle John, who is the primary recipient of the visions described in the book. Trumpet-bearing angels. Several angels are depicted blowing trumpets, signaling various events and judgments throughout the book. These trumpet blasts herald cataclysmic events and the unfolding of God's plan. 7 angels with 7 bowls. These angels are responsible for pouring out the 7 bowls of God's wrath upon the earth, symbolizing the final judgments before the ultimate victory of God over evil. Heavenly worship. The book describes angels participating in ceaseless worship around God's throne, singing praises and glorifying Him. They are depicted as praising God, offering incense, and joining in the adoration of the Lamb, who represents Jesus Christ. Battle against evil. Angels are described as warriors who engage in spiritual warfare against the forces of darkness. They fight against the dragon, Satan, and his angels, ultimately triumphing over them. Guardians of nations. In the Book of Revelation, angels are associated with specific nations and regions, symbolizing their protective role over God's people. Angels as witnesses. Angels are depicted as witnesses to the events described in the book. They observe and testify to the unfolding of God's judgments and the fulfillment of His promises. It is important to note that the imagery and symbolism in the Book of Revelation can be highly figurative and open to interpretation. The role and nature of angels in the book are presented within an apocalyptic context, emphasizing the cosmic struggle between good and evil, and the ultimate triumph of God's kingdom. Messengers. Angels serve as messengers who deliver divine revelations to the Apostle John, who is the primary recipient of the visions described in the book. Certainly. In the Book of Revelation, angels serve as messengers who deliver divine revelations to the Apostle John. John is the primary recipient of the visions described in the book, and the angels are instrumental in conveying these messages to him. They act as intermediaries between God and John, communicating the prophetic and apocalyptic visions that reveal the future events and the ultimate victory of God's kingdom. Angels play a crucial role as messengers in the Book of Revelation, delivering divine revelations to the Apostle John. As the primary recipient of the visions described in the book, John relies on these angelic messengers to convey important messages from God. Throughout the Book of Revelation, John encounters several angels who bring him profound insights into the spiritual realm and the future events to come. These angelic messengers serve as a direct link between the heavenly realm and the earthly realm, bridging the gap between the divine and the human. The role of the angels as messengers is significant because it highlights the importance of communication between God and His people. Through these angelic intermediaries, God ensures that His messages, warnings, and promises are effectively conveyed to John and, by extension, to the readers of the book. The divine revelations delivered by the angels to John encompass a wide range of subjects, including the impending judgments, the coming of the Messiah, the final triumph over evil, and the establishment of God's eternal kingdom. These messages are often conveyed through vivid and symbolic visions, which the angels help to interpret and explain to John. The presence of angels as messengers underscores the supernatural nature of the revelations in the Book of Revelation. It highlights the transcendence of God's message and His desire for His people to understand and prepare for the events foretold in the book. The angelic messengers serve as trustworthy conveyors of God's will and provide John with the guidance and understanding necessary to fulfill his role as the book's author. In summary, the angels in the Book of Revelation serve as vital messengers, delivering divine revelations to the Apostle John. They facilitate communication between God and humanity, conveying prophetic visions and interpreting their meanings. Through their role as messengers, the angels ensure that God's messages are effectively transmitted, guiding John and informing the readers about the future events and God's ultimate plan for His creation. Throughout the Book of Revelation, several trumpet-bearing angels are described, each associated with significant events and judgments. These angels play a pivotal role in signaling the unfolding of God's plan and the arrival of cataclysmic events. The trumpet blasts blown by these angels serve as powerful and unmistakable announcements, capturing the attention of both heaven and earth. Each trumpet blast represents a distinct judgment or event that is about to take place. The first trumpet heralds the arrival of hail and fire mixed with blood, which rain down upon the earth, causing destruction and devastation. This trumpet blast signifies the beginning of God's judgments upon the world. The second trumpet brings forth a great burning mountain that is cast into the sea, resulting in a third of the sea turning into blood and a third of sea creatures perishing. This event symbolizes the divine judgment upon the waters and the impact it has on the world. The third trumpet is accompanied by a star called wormwood falling from heaven, causing a third of the rivers and springs to become bitter. This trumpet blast signifies the poisoning and corruption of natural resources, emphasizing the consequences of rebellion against God. The fourth trumpet signals a reduction of light from the sun, moon, and stars, resulting in a darkened sky. This trumpet blast serves as a warning of the diminishing influence and power of worldly systems in the face of God's impending judgment. The remaining trumpets continue to announce divine judgments, including demonic locusts tormenting humanity, the release of bound angels bringing death and destruction, and the pronouncement of 3 woes upon the earth. The trumpet-bearing angels and their blasts highlight the magnitude and significance of the events unfolding in the book of Revelation. These events represent God's righteous judgment upon a world entrenched in sin and rebellion, ultimately leading to the restoration of his kingdom. In summary, the trumpet-bearing angels in the book of Revelation play a vital role in signaling the arrival of cataclysmic events and judgments. Their trumpet blasts serve as powerful announcements, capturing the attention of heaven and earth, and highlighting the unfolding of God's plan for judgment and ultimate redemption. In the book of Revelation, the imagery of the 7 angels with 7 bowls represents the pouring out of God's wrath upon the earth. These angels are entrusted with the task of executing the final judgments that precede the ultimate victory of God over evil. The 7 bowls, also known as the 7 vials or the 7 bowls of wrath, contain the fullness of God's righteous indignation and judgment upon a world that has persistently rebelled against him. Each bowl represents a specific judgment aimed at various aspects of human life and the world as a whole. As the angels pour out these bowls, a series of catastrophic events unfolds. The first bowl brings about painful sores upon those who have aligned themselves with evil. The second bowl turns the sea into blood, causing the death of marine life. The third bowl turns rivers and springs into blood, symbolizing the consequences of shedding innocent blood. The fourth bowl plunges the world into scorching heat, intensifying the suffering of those who have rejected God's authority. The fifth bowl brings darkness upon the kingdom of the beast, causing immense anguish and despair. The sixth bowl dries up the Euphrates River, preparing the way for the final battle between the forces of good and evil. Finally, the seventh bowl results in a great earthquake, unparalleled destruction, and hailstones of immense size. This culminates in the complete and utter defeat of evil and the final establishment of God's righteous reign over all creation. The pouring out of the 7 bowls signifies the climax of God's judgment upon the unrepentant and ungodly world. It serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of rejecting God's grace and his call to righteousness. These judgments, though severe, are necessary for the purification of the world and the triumph of good over evil. Ultimately, the 7 angels with the 7 bowls of God's wrath highlight the justice and sovereignty of God. They emphasize the finality of his judgments and the ultimate victory of his kingdom, where righteousness and peace will reign forever. The pouring out of the 7 bowls signifies the climax of God's judgment upon the unrepentant and ungodly world. It serves as a stark reminder of the consequences of rejecting God's grace and his call to righteousness. These judgments, though severe, are necessary for the purification of the world and the triumph of good over evil. Certainly, the pouring out of the 7 bowls in the book of Revelation represents the pinnacle of God's judgment upon the unrepentant and ungodly world. It serves as a powerful reminder of the consequences that accompany the rejection of God's grace and his call to righteousness. These judgments, though severe, are depicted as necessary for the purification of the world and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. The imagery of the 7 bowls portrays the intensity and completeness of God's wrath. Each bowl poured out signifies a specific judgment that targets different aspects of human existence and the world at large. These judgments are intended to bring about a profound realization of the consequences of rejecting God's authority and living in rebellion against Him. While the judgments described in the pouring out of the bowls may appear severe, they are depicted as essential for the purification of the world. They demonstrate the righteousness of God's judgment and His commitment to upholding justice. In His infinite wisdom, God uses these judgments to bring about a transformation, ultimately leading to the establishment of His righteous and perfect kingdom. Furthermore, the pouring out of the 7 bowls serves as a testament to God's mercy and patience. Throughout the book of Revelation, there are repeated opportunities for repentance and reconciliation, yet the unrepentant continue to defy God. The pouring out of the bowls signifies the culmination of God's patience, where He must bring forth the final judgments to hold the unrepentant accountable for their actions. Ultimately, the pouring out of the 7 bowls is a reminder of the holiness and sovereignty of God. It underscores the importance of aligning one's life with His will and heeding His call to righteousness. While the judgments described are severe, they are part of God's plan for the ultimate triumph of good over evil, the purification of the world, and the establishment of His eternal kingdom. In the book of Revelation, a prominent theme is the heavenly worship that takes place around God's throne. Angels play a significant role in this celestial worship, continually offering praises and glorifying God. They are depicted as active participants, joining in the adoration of both God and the Lamb, who represents Jesus Christ. The scenes of heavenly worship in Revelation convey a sense of awe and reverence. Angels are shown singing songs of praise to God, declaring His holiness, power, and worthiness. Their worship is portrayed as ceaseless, reflecting the eternal nature of their devotion to God. In addition to vocal worship, the angels are described as offering incense, symbolizing the prayers of the saints ascending to God. This imagery suggests their role as intercessors, bridging the gap between the earthly and heavenly realms, and presenting the needs and petitions of God's people before Him. Furthermore, the Lamb, representing Jesus Christ, is a central focus of the heavenly worship. The angels join in adoration and honor towards the Lamb, acknowledging His sacrificial work and His role as the Savior and King. They proclaim His worthiness to receive power, honor, and glory, emphasizing His divine nature and His rightful place at the center of worship. The heavenly worship portrayed in Revelation serves multiple purposes. It magnifies the greatness and majesty of God, acknowledging His sovereignty and perfect attributes. It also serves as an encouragement and inspiration for believers, reminding them of the eternal significance of worship and the exalted position of Jesus Christ. Moreover, this depiction of heavenly worship underscores the unending nature of worship and the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan. It points towards a future where all creation will join in the worship of God, where every knee will bow and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. In summary, the book of Revelation portrays angels as active participants in the heavenly worship around God's throne. They sing praises, offer incense, and join in the adoration of the Lamb, Jesus Christ. This depiction of celestial worship conveys a sense of awe, highlights the eternal nature of worship, and emphasizes the central role of Jesus in the exaltation of God. It serves as an inspiration and a glimpse into the future fulfillment of God's plan for universal worship and the eternal reign of His kingdom. In the book of Revelation, angels are depicted as mighty warriors engaged in a spiritual battle against the forces of evil. They actively fight against the dragon, who represents Satan, and his angels, with the ultimate purpose of triumphing over them. The imagery of angels as warriors highlights their role in the cosmic conflict between good and evil. They are portrayed as powerful and courageous beings, equipped to engage in spiritual warfare on behalf of God's kingdom. Their purpose is to uphold righteousness, defend the truth, and combat the influence of darkness in the world. The primary antagonist in this battle is the dragon, symbolizing Satan, who seeks to deceive and lead humanity astray. The angels confront the dragon and his angels, engaging in a fierce struggle against the forces of evil. This battle signifies the ongoing spiritual warfare that exists between God's kingdom and the powers of darkness. Throughout the book of Revelation, the angels' triumph over the dragon and his angels is foretold. They are portrayed as victorious, symbolizing the ultimate defeat of evil and the establishment of God's righteous reign. This victory is accomplished through the power and authority granted to the angels by God. The depiction of angels as warriors in the battle against evil serves as a source of encouragement and hope for believers. It highlights the divine assistance and protection available to those who align themselves with God's purposes. It also underscores the certainty of victory for those who stand firm in their faith, knowing that God's angelic warriors are engaged in the battle on their behalf. Ultimately, the battle against evil in the book of Revelation emphasizes the supremacy of God's kingdom and the ultimate triumph over darkness. The angels, as mighty warriors, play a crucial role in this cosmic conflict, actively fighting against the dragon and his angels to bring about the ultimate victory of righteousness and the fulfillment of God's purposes. In the book of Revelation, angels are often associated with specific nations and regions, symbolizing their role as guardians and protectors of God's people. These angelic guardians serve to highlight God's watchful care and providence over his chosen ones. Throughout the book, angels are assigned to various regions and nations, representing their responsibility to safeguard and guide God's people within those specific contexts. They are depicted as spiritual guardians, offering protection, guidance, and assistance to believers. The association of angels with nations emphasizes the universal nature of God's love and concern for all people. It signifies that God's divine plan encompasses not only individuals but also entire communities and nations. These angelic guardians work in harmony with God's purposes to ensure the well-being and preservation of his people. The presence of angelic guardians also suggests a spiritual dimension to the geopolitical events unfolding in the book. It implies that there are unseen forces at work, both for good and evil, influencing the fate of nations. The angels serve as a reminder that earthly powers and events are subject to God's ultimate authority and that his plan will ultimately prevail. The concept of angelic guardianship provides comfort and assurance to believers, especially in times of adversity and persecution. It assures them that they are not alone in their struggles, that heavenly forces are actively working on their behalf. Furthermore, the association of angels with nations underscores the interconnectedness of the spiritual and earthly realms. It reminds believers that their actions and choices have implications beyond their personal lives, affecting the collective well-being of their communities and nations. It encourages them to seek God's guidance and align their lives with his will, knowing that angelic guardians are watching over them. In summary, the book of Revelation portrays angels as guardians of nations and regions, symbolizing their protective role over God's people. They serve as a reminder of God's watchful care and providence, working alongside his divine plan to safeguard and guide believers. This concept provides reassurance, emphasizing the interconnectedness of the spiritual and earthly realms and encouraging believers to live in alignment with God's purposes. In the book of Revelation, angels are portrayed as witnesses to the events that unfold throughout the book. They serve as observers who bear witness to the unfolding of God's judgments and the fulfillment of his promises. These angelic witnesses play a significant role in the heavenly courtroom setting depicted in Revelation. They are present to testify to the righteous judgments of God, providing an objective account of the events that transpire. The angels' role as witnesses underscores the importance of divine justice and the righteousness of God's actions. Their presence serves as a reminder that God's judgments are not arbitrary or capricious but are based on perfect wisdom and truth. They witness the consequences of human actions and bear testimony to the fulfillment of God's purposes. Additionally, the angelic witnesses highlight the integrity of God's promises. Throughout the book, God makes various declarations and prophesies, and the angels serve as witnesses to their fulfillment. They testify to the faithfulness of God in keeping his word and bringing about the events as foretold. The presence of angelic witnesses also conveys a sense of accountability. Their observation of events suggests that nothing escapes the attention of God or his angelic hosts. It serves as a reminder that all actions and choices have consequences and that ultimately, divine justice will prevail. Moreover, the angelic witnesses provide assurance to believers. Their presence indicates that the faithful are not alone in their trials and sufferings. The angels witness their perseverance and faithfulness, serving as a testament to their endurance and offering encouragement in times of tribulation. In summary, angels in the Book of Revelation are depicted as witnesses to the events that take place. They observe and testify to the unfolding of God's judgments and the fulfillment of his promises. Their role highlights the righteousness of God's actions, underscores the accountability of human choices, and provides assurance to believers. The angelic witnesses serve as reminders of God's perfect justice and faithfulness, ensuring that nothing escapes his attention and that his purpose